The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Pushing the limits. Thank you so much for being here, PTL Nation, the ever so fast-growing PTL family. Very humbled by that. YouTube, Facebook, obviously X, the FMAM Dial KSHP, and we have booked some big guests throughout the remainder of the week. Some very far-right MAGA guests that are going to be joining us. I'll get to that in a little bit. But certainly there's so much to get to today. I have so much to talk about, including fallout when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And I don't think Caitlin Clark did anything wrong, but she's being asked about transgenders in the WNBA. By the way, there are no transgenders in the WNBA. I don't even know why this question is being asked, but Caitlin, I think, did the right thing, and she didn't want to get into that conversation. She's focused on basketball. Now, all of a sudden, it's not shut up and dribble. Now, all of a sudden, you want white basketball players to comment on transgenders, but when it's LeBron James talking politics, it's shut up and dribble. You right-wing hypocrites are all the same. Max Miller fallout as well. It's pretty interesting, isn't it, that Plattner, just a month ago, every single Republican out there was scumbag, needs to step down. By the way, I agreed. As soon as I learned he had like a Nazi tattoo, I said, this guy should run for office. I agreed. And eventually all the Democrats agreed as well. There are still Republicans that are supporting Max Miller with credible information of abuse with his ex-wife. He's a lunatic. I just had a conversation with George Santos about that. George Santos, say what you want about the man. Back in 2003, he called this guy a woman beater. George Santos was right. He said it on the House floor, but yet you still have MAGA Republicans out there that are defending Max Miller. You still have Donald Trump out there saying he's a good man. These right-wing hypocrites are the worst. When it comes to Plattner, step down, scumbag. But when it comes to allegations, credible allegations of Max Miller, we still support him. Did you see Moreno speaking today? We'll play that audio about what his daughter has had to go through with this scumbag lunatic. And yet there are still Republicans out there that think he should stay in the race. Why is it? Why is it that if Al Franken takes what I would consider a semi-inappropriate picture pretending to grab a woman's breasts, he's outed? But yet you have these scumbag Republicans, people like the Matt Gaetzes of the world, the Max Millers of the world, and others, and so many Republicans still stand by their guy. I'll tell you why, because a lot of these Republicans have no moral compass. That's why. As soon as Eric Swalwell stuff came out, every Democrat said, step down. We don't want you in our party. Step down. He was outed. Almost immediately after those videos came out, he was outed immediately. And then Max Miller puts out a video saying, she cooked dinner for me 6 days later, so I couldn't have assaulted her. What a weird, creepy, and disgusting video that he put out. What a scumbag. And let me tell you something. Any Republican out there that is defending this guy, oh, well, we have a process. These are just allegations. You're a scumbag too. One of the big fundamental differences between Democrats and Republicans today, if a Democrat does something inappropriate or there are allegations that are substantiated that a Democrat did something wrong, Democrats will not stand by that person and they will be outed almost immediately. But when it comes to the Republican Party, they stand by their guy until they can't anymore. It is so despicable and disgusting. And I am so sick of these Republicans in D.C. I am so sick of it. And you guys want to talk about Caitlin Clark and you want to talk about transgenders. You don't want to talk about the war in Iran. You don't want to talk about the economy. You don't want to talk about how Donald Trump is ruining this country by the day. But no, you want to talk about transgenders when there are 500,000 college athletes out there and less than 10 are transgenders. But you want to make this an issue. You want to talk to WNBA players about this. The face of the league, Caitlin Clark. She doesn't want to get into the political conversation. Leave her alone. Do I think transgender women should be competing with women? No, this isn't a top 10 issue. 10 college athletes that are transgenders out of 500,000 athletes. There are no transgenders in professional sports. Why the hell are you asking professional athletes these questions? Why? Can you name me anybody that was killed because of a transgender athlete? It's so stupid. I don't even want to mention her name. But you have this former swimmer who, by the way, I've debated on Piers Morgan. She's an imbecile. Riley Gaines. I'll say her name. Nobody knew who Riley Gaines was as a college swimmer when you had 20 people watching her swim and she tied for 5th. Nobody cared. The only reason why we know who Riley Gaines is because she attacks transgenders 24/7. And don't you give me the BS, oh, she cares about women. Really? Then why does she support a liable rapist? Can you please explain to me that? Why doesn't she ever talk about that? Why doesn't she ever talk about the Epstein files if she cares about women? She only cares about her own pocketbook. She only cares about making money and making the same anti-transgender speech all over the country and making her appearances on Fox News to make a nice little living for herself, attacking transgenders 24/7. Nobody knew who Riley Gaines was when she was a college swimmer. Nobody. We all know who Riley Gaines is now because of her transgender hate, because she is a grifting imbecile. Let's be very clear on that as well. And yes, some of you might be saying, Brian, you sound a little bit angry today. You're damn right I'm angry. You're damn right. Now you're attacking Caitlin Clark because she doesn't want to get into a political conversation. She's a basketball player, and she has the right not to get into a political conversation. But it's not shut up and dribble if you're a white, female, straight basketball player in the WNBA, right? Let's ask her to go after transgenders. But if it's a black athlete like LeBron James, who's never been in trouble with the law before, shut up and dribble, because Laura Ingraham is a racist piece of human garbage. Oh, and if you go on the networks right now, they're talking about a foul with Sophie Cunningham. Like all of a sudden they're basketball experts as well because she took an elbow to the face. Guess what? It was unintentional. It happens in basketball almost every day in the NBA. And it has nothing to do with your skin color. It has nothing to do with your sexuality. Basketball is a physical sport. That stuff happens. But all of a sudden, Laura Ingraham is a professional when it comes to fouls in the WNBA. I mean, it's so stupid. These Republicans are such idiots. They're such idiots. It's so stupid. They don't want to talk about healthcare. They don't have a healthcare plan. They don't want to talk about the economy. They don't want to talk about inflation. They don't want to talk about the war in Iran. They don't want to talk about gun violence in this country. No, they want to talk about transgenders. When is enough enough? When in America are we just going to say enough is enough with these idiots? The Nancy Maces of the world. All day yesterday, all she's tweeting about is transgenders. Yeah, I get it. I don't think transgender women should be competing with women on the playing field. Okay, I get it. Maybe you can move on to more prevalent topics like the economy, the fact that people are having to choose whether they want to fill their gas tank or put food on the table, but you want to go after Caitlin Clark? Why? Because she didn't give you an answer on transgenders that you wanted, an opportunity to go after transgenders. Sophie Cunningham is making a living not because she's a great basketball player. She's making more money because of her hate towards transgenders. And you have Riley Gaines showing up to her game yesterday. It makes me want to vomit, these sick people. It makes me want to vomit. But yeah, great job, Republicans. Great job. I'm sure the midterms will work so well for you. Don't talk about the economy. Don't talk about healthcare. Don't talk about the war in Iran or the fact that Donald Trump is weaponizing the DOJ. Don't talk about any of that stuff. Oh, no. Let's talk about transgenders. Let's talk about how transgenders are such a threat to the country. You stupid idiots, you. I'm sick of it. I am absolutely sick of it. I'm sick of the hate. I'm sick of these Republicans. I'm sick of the fact that they do nothing in this country but spew hatred and bigotry. If they don't want to, do mass deportations and deport all brown people, then they're attacking transgenders. Then they're attacking homosexuals. Homosexuals can't be good parents. Deport all minorities in this country. Rogue ICE agency. Well, just comply. Wake up and smell the roses, you idiots. Wake up. I'm talking to you Republicans now. Wake up. I don't care if you don't like Democrat policy. I don't care. Is this going to make America great? Attacking transgenders 24/7, attacking Caitlin Clark. Is that making America great? Attacking minorities every day? An ill-advised war in Iran. Is that making America great? This is what you voted for, you imbeciles. Yes, I'm talking to all of you right now, because if you still don't admit that you made a mistake in voting for Donald Trump in 2024, you are an idiot. You are an idiot, and you have ruined this country, and you will continue to ruin this country. And shame on you if you continue to defend these Republicans, if you continue to defend this administration. I am sick of it. I put on the TV yesterday, and all I see is hatred towards Caitlin Clark, hatred towards transgenders, hatred towards a basketball coach who wore a shirt that was a pro-children transgender. I don't know. I guess you could call it that. That's what they're focused on. It is a distraction from more important issues, far more important issues. These same people that are attacking transgenders, do they talk about the Epstein files? Did they talk about Donald Trump and his sexual abuse? The answer is no. While all this is going on, there is audio that has been leaked by Todd Blanche. Not by him, but it was leaked. And in this leak, Todd Blanche is stating that he's going to restrict abortion nationwide. And his Senate confirmation hearing was absolutely brutal. This is Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche planning to outlaw abortion nationwide.
To know this is a big part of our job. A big part of my job as the Acting Attorney General, and Attorney General Bondi before me, was bringing back regularity to the Department of Justice and the government when it comes to protecting religious liberty. And we're not done. We have a lot of work to do with some of the policies around pro-life and some of the pro-abortion work that the Biden administration and the Justice Department allowed to happen. Some of that is taking longer than we want, but rest assured that we're working, hand in hand with HHS and the FDA and the White House and President Trump's team to get permanent solutions so that the Dobbs decision becomes permanent in every single state. So that means that if states are allowing, if states have said we are going to protect the unborn and we're going to protect every life from the moment of conception, we're putting practices and policies in place so that other states and other organizations can't attack that, and they can't, do things like they're doing with mailing in mail order drugs and things like that. And it's a process that takes a lot of time, and that's why it's been 19 months and we don't have complete victory yet. But we will have victory, and victory will be soon, and it will be permanent. And that's an important thing to everybody remember.
Yeah, there you go. So for those of you that are complaining about transgenders in women's sports, those of you that call yourself pro-life, you're not pro-life. You're not pro-life. You're anti-abortion. You're not pro-life. Todd Blanche wants to ban abortion nationwide. It's what he's trying to do. Don't allow him to succeed. Senator Dick Blumenthal had something to say about Todd Blanche and this audio leak that has come to fruition. Listen to him.
He showed us who he was as well when he was talking about reproductive rights. In a private call last week, Mr. Blanche again said the quiet part out loud. In fact, he shouted it. He said to the participants on that call that he would work to restrict abortion in every single state. That's not enforcing the law. That is a zealot, a warrior seeking to advocate the president's position against reproductive rights. He wants to block states enacting their own policies and laws. He wants to make abortion access follow the laws of abortion ban states. In short, he wants to strip Americans of their right to choose and strip states of their right to govern.
Yeah. That's exactly what Todd Blanche is trying to do. Imagine the stuff he says behind closed doors about this slush fund that allegedly is dead. These people are radical. They're afraid to talk about the radical left. No, it's the radical right. force young girls who have been raped to have babies? In an economy right now that is struggling, where women can't even afford to raise one child, let alone a few, ban abortion nationwide? Senator Dick Durbin had something to say about Mr. Blanche. Have a listen to this.
Instead of serving the American people and upholding the rule of law and the Constitution, Mr. Blanche has aided and abetted the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States. Prior to this hearing, Mr. Blanche told me he, quote, made a mistake, close quote, by creating the January 6th slush fund. Where did he say it? In my office, with witnesses, my staff, to what I'm about to say. When I asked him about this under oath, Mr. Blanche falsely claimed that he never made this statement. That's not true. Mr. Blanche's willingness to casually lie under oath about a statement he made in a room full of witnesses shows the lengths he will go to avoid offending President Trump. Why doesn't he want to concede he made a mistake? We all do that from time to time, right? No, no, no. Manly MAGA leaders do not admit a mistake or use the word sorry. So he was held accountable by the president.
Yep. They'll never admit that they made a mistake. They'll never say, I'm sorry for anything. Representative Durbin is 150% correct. And then there's Representative Whitehouse, who brings up the Epstein files, because to me, it's like, and he's right, Representative Whitehouse talking about how embarrassing this day is for the committee. And I completely agree. It is embarrassing. Have a listen to what Representative Whitehouse had to say.
Today, I think, is a sad and embarrassing day for this committee. As it looks like on a party line vote, we are going to advance out of this committee probably the most discreditable person ever to seek the office of Attorney General of the United States. The reasons to vote against him number in the hundreds, but let's just focus on a few where my Republican colleagues purport to have great concern. Let's start with the Epstein files, where Todd Blanche participated in the cover-up, continues to participate in the cover-up, and is responsible for a massive screw-up of the release of the documents.
He is right about that. It was a massive screw up. And it's interesting because we don't hear a lot about Ghislaine Maxwell, as we know, who was put in a Club Med facility because of Todd Blanche. Remember, he went down to interview Maxwell, and then a couple days later, she's put in a Club Med facility. Well, White House had something to say directly about that, and I find it to be extremely telling and very interesting. And I'm glad some of these Democrats are pushing back.
And then you get to Ghislaine Maxwell, where a deputy attorney general flew to Tallahassee to have a private meeting with a woman convicted of participating in Epstein's depravity. And what was the upshot of that meeting? Was it to get more information about who else was culpable, about whose secrets were still being kept? No. It was to get exculpatory information about Donald Trump and then reward her with a move to a club-fed prison. Now, the nominal excuse for that is, oh, she was in danger in her earlier prison, so we had to move her. How often does a prisoner allegedly facing threats or danger get moved to a less secure facility?
It's true. It's a good point, Mr. White House. One of the biggest sex traffickers in the history of this country being treated like a VIP because of Todd Blanche listening to every word that Donald Trump says, because Donald Trump is worried that Maxwell will give out all the information that she knows about Donald Trump. She doesn't do so. They treat her like a VIP. Wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump gave her a pardon his last day in office. It's insane. And then White House gets to the crooked slush fund, as he calls it, where they literally want to pay out millions of dollars per person for people who beat police officers on January 6th. It's insane.
There's Epstein for you. And let me ask the letter from the Epstein victims to Senators Tillis and Cornyn to be put into the record. So next we get to this crooked slush fund, Trump family tax amnesty scam. Let's take a look at that. We've got these two new pieces of paper, one signed only by Todd Blanche, one not signed by anybody, neither of which has any legal effect whatsoever. They are decorative. So what problems do they leave behind? Well, one is, can you trust Todd Blanche going forward? I will tell you, I do not. I think it would be unreasonable to trust him going forward. There is enough weasel room in these documents to drive a truck through.
You know, he's right about that. And what's even more sickening is that you have Republicans in office that have nothing to lose, like Tom Tillis, right? It's the only reason why a guy like Tillis is even pushing back on anything Donald Trump does these days. They have nothing to lose, and they still vote Blanche in as the nomination. It is so sick. You have Tom Tillis admitting that Donald Trump has weaponized the DOJ, yet he still votes for Todd Blanche because these Republicans are such cowards and idiots. Tillis has nothing to lose. You can't make the argument he won't be in power anymore. He still is willing to vote for the nomination for Todd Blanche. Tom Tillis, also a coward and an idiot. Watch this.
The bottom line is nobody is clean here. And until we start recognizing this behavior as bad, we're just going to one-up it. Maybe it's a little bit more intense in this administration than the last one, and that a little bit more intense than the prior administration, and so on and so forth. But folks, we've got to end this stuff. We do. I'm going to support Mr. Blanche's nomination, but what I hope I see out of him is a bending of the curve of this absurdity.
You idiot. You absolute idiot. I hope, you dummy. Please, nobody give any credibility at all or any credit to Tom Tillis, who has nothing to lose. Anybody out there who is supporting Blanche's nomination, you are an imbecile and you are a danger to this country. Amy Klobuchar, brings up Renee Good and Alex Preddy's death. I still talk about them all the time. Renee Good's last words. I'm not mad at you, bro. Alex Preddy's last words. Are you okay, ma'am?
So two of my constituents, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were killed. They should be alive today. After they were killed, the federal government refused to cooperate with state and local law enforcement, blocking Minnesota investigators from accessing the scene of Alex's death, even though they had a judicial warrant. Federal investigators mishandled evidence, and they failed to process Renee Good's car for evidence. Everyone in this room have seen those videos. Everyone in this room knows that at the very least, those cases should have been and should be investigated, and they are now. Instead of cooperating with local law enforcement, which I pressed the department to do from the beginning, and as the Justice Department had done in past cases, including following the assassination of Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, the marching orders from the Justice Department to federal prosecutors in Minnesota were to investigate Renee Good.
Yeah. Interesting, right? No full-on investigation into the Renee Good, what I would like to call murder. I don't like to call it that, but that's what it was. I think anybody who watched that video would tell you that's not biased, that it was murder. Jonathan Ross is now a multimillionaire because of donations from these sick MAGA morons. They didn't investigate blood splatter. They didn't investigate any ballistics. They didn't do an autopsy. They didn't interview any witnesses. Jonathan Ross is a millionaire, and he is back out on the streets. This is a sick time that we are living in this country. And then Adam Schiff, who makes a very good point that, we're all entitled to our own views, but that doesn't mean you could use the DOJ on your political opponents.
Or as my colleague from North Carolina says, brings a seashells case. How absurd is that? Can there be any doubt that that was brought simply because he's on the president's enemies list? I know I'm on that list. The president reiterated just the other night that he hates me, which I could tell you wounds me deeply. He's entitled to his own views about me or anybody else. He is not entitled, however, to use the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents. And the day we say that's okay, and the day we confirm an attorney general who says that's okay, is the day that the rule of law becomes merely an unenforceable idea, a quaint acknowledgement of a past Justice Department in which the rule of law once mattered. We should not confirm an attorney general who believes the president has a right and a duty to use him to go after his enemies.
Absolutely agree. The stuff that Donald Trump was complaining about Biden weaponizing the DOJ is exactly what Donald Trump has been doing. And yes, there are some cowards. I mentioned Tom Tillis as one of them. Chuck Grassley is another one. He says the Justice Department, I'm not making this up because we're going to play the audio. Chuck Grassley says the Justice Department has thrived under Blanche's leadership. Again, I cannot believe I'm playing this audio for you. Grassley is off his rocker and he belongs in a mental institution. Listen to this.
Turning to today's agenda, I'd like to say a few words about Mr. Blanche. The Justice Department has thrived under his leadership. Among other things, Mr. Blanche has led major successes in thwarting federal program fraud, ending racial discrimination, and restoring the safety of every American.
Chuck Grassley is an embarrassment to this country. Why don't you retire already, you old man? Retire. Yes, there are Republicans out there. Yes, there are MAGA Republicans out there that think that Todd Blanche is doing a great job. Another one of those Republicans, Mr. Cornyn, who is also voting in Todd Blanche's nomination. Have a listen to what he had to say.
And Senator, your Democratic colleagues say that this order from Blanche rescinding the fund isn't binding. Why do you disagree?
Well, the weaponization fund is dead. We pointed out that the Department of Justice has represented that to numerous courts. And as to the idea that it could be revived in the future, I think it's highly unlikely that that could happen without the cooperation of the Department of Justice. And I think Mr. Blanche gave us the assurances that it was dead and would not be revived. And in this case, we have no alternative but to take his word for that. And but I think it's highly unlikely that it could be revived.
Yeah, take his word for it, just like you'll take Donald Trump's word for it, you buffoon. Let me be very clear. Todd Blanche still acts as Donald Trump's personal attorney. You could put the label attorney general and you could make the claim, well, the attorney general doesn't act as the president's personal attorney. This is Donald Trump's former personal attorney, and it's still Donald Trump's personal attorney. He's willing to lie under oath. He's willing to do and say anything to protect his client, the president of the United States, Donald Trump. We could be talking about the Epstein files, the way they've treated Maxwell. Blanche doesn't even want to talk to the victims. We could be talking about lies when it comes to the reflecting bay pool. We could be talking about weaponizing the DOJ. We could be talking about wanting to turn MAGA terrorists into millionaires, some of whom beat Capitol Police officers. Anybody, and I mean anybody, who thinks Todd Blanche is doing a good job is a MAGA mushroom gobbler at best. You know, I find it interesting that, and not surprising, that during a time in this country when we're in a war that continues, when we're spending about $2 billion a day, our brave men and women in uniform are coming home in caskets. Thousands of innocent civilians in Iran have been killed. Innocent civilians in Israel as well. All because Donald Trump decided to team up with Bibi in the same aspect George W. Bush teamed up back in the day when we were told weapons of mass destruction. And we were promised from Donald Trump that this would be a peace presidency and he wouldn't start any new wars. And Republicans don't want to talk about this war. They don't want to talk about the economy. You know what they want to talk about? You know what these MAGA buffoons, and that's what they are. They're all despicable buffoons. You know what they've been talking about all day yesterday and today? Transgenders. Yep, that's right. MAGA attacking Caitlin Clark because apparently she didn't back her colleague Sophie Cunningham's take on transgenders in sports. Now, if you don't know who Sophie Cunningham is, the reason why she's becoming a household name is not because of her basketball skills or lack thereof. She's not an all-star. She's not this top 5 or top 10 player in the WNBA. No, she's nowhere near Caitlin Clark's ability. The reason why it's a household name, because she's a blonde white woman who certainly is on the right, who's spoken out about transgenders. By the way, there are no transgender women that play in the WNBA. Don't even know why they're asking these players this. But Sophie Cunningham doubling down on her trans comments on ESPN. Watch this.
On that same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Okay, let's go with that, Sophie. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with Riley Gaines 2.0. I guarantee you that Sophie Cunningham will make more money off the court speaking at the Republican National Convention and other events. She's turning into Riley Gaines. That's why Riley Gaines met up with her yesterday. She's going to make more money talking about transgenders in women's sports than playing basketball. You see, ladies and gentlemen, if she really cares about protecting children, by the way, I don't buy her statement for a second. If she cares about protecting children so much, why haven't you ever brought up the Epstein files? If you care about protecting children so much, why haven't you talked about gun control? If you care about protecting children so much, why haven't you talked about the big and beautiful bill? Has any child died because a transgender was on the playing field, Sophie? Now, obviously, the answer is no. So I would ask Sophie, if you care about protecting children, why don't you talk about more prevalent issues like gun violence, like healthcare? But, you see Sophie, just like Riley Gaines, they're two alike. Two white women with privilege who take a page from the right-wing Fox News playbook and talk about transgenders. Now, if Sophie said, yeah, I don't believe that transgender women should be playing with women on the playing field, but, I want children to be protected when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to gun control, when it comes to the Epstein files. Let's protect children across the board. Sophie Cunningham would never make that statement because MAGA would attack her for it because she's a phony. And some say, well, Brian, she can't talk about every issue. Really? You can't just make a 20-second statement across the board? Because Sophie Cunningham doesn't care about children. She doesn't care about all those other issues. Because she's a WNBA basketball player and because she's getting all this media attention for going after transgenders, oh, well, that's my belief system. That's what I care about. Okay. If you care about children and their safety and their well-being, then why aren't you talking about more prevalent issues? That's what I would ask her. What do you think about all these children that are being gunned down in schools? What do you think about all these families that can't afford to put food on the table because Donald J. Trump is taking their health care away, taking their food stamps away? What do you think about gas being over $4 a gallon? I guarantee you Sophie Cunningham wouldn't answer that question. Oh, I'm not political. This is Riley Gaines 2.0. They're two of the same. And Riley Gaines flew out there to talk to her yesterday. Do you think it was just to take a picture with her? No. I'm sure they had a conversation about how she can make more money, about talking about transgenders and attacking transgenders 24/7. She'll never talk about those other issues that are far more prevalent and far more dangerous to children than any transgender that gets on a playing field. But she will never talk about that. The same reason why Riley Gaines won't talk about it, because they're two stupid individuals. Seriously, they're like Nick Shirley. They're like Nick Shirley's. These are very stupid women who don't really care about children. All they care about is lining their pockets and making money. I guarantee you Sophie will be making more money off the court than on the court. And ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I would get to this point because, you know, all these Clay Travises of the world and these scumbags, every single time a black female lesbian basketball player commits a hard foul on Caitlin Clark, they go off, right? They'll protect Caitlin Clark. But the second Caitlin Clark doesn't want to talk about transgender issues, and I got to tell you, I respect her even more now because she doesn't want to get involved in this conversation, and MAGA is attacking her. I thought Caitlin Clark handled this perfectly. No matter what her position is, I have more respect for her now than ever. She was asked, because some of these reporters, they want to give her the opportunity to do what Sophie Cunningham did, which is attack transgenders. I thought Caitlin Clark handled this question perfectly. Watch this.
I think for us, like, you know, it's not really a discussion we really have in our locker room. I think it's for leagues and the governing bodies to work with their athletes to find solutions, but our focus is on basketball, and that's what we talk about and how we can get wins. And obviously we didn't do that tonight, so need to find an area to improve in that way.
Do you have any, reaction to the?
I just answered for you.
All right. We'll go over to the Zoom.
Yep. I thought she answered that question perfectly. Perfectly. I don't know what Caitlin Clark's opinions are on transgenders playing in the WNBA or transgenders on the. I really don't know. And I don't care. Here's what I do know. Caitlin Clark answered that question perfectly. Her focus is on basketball. There are no transgenders that play in the WNBA. She doesn't want to talk about that. She has the right not to answer the question. But, I find it very interesting, very, very interesting, that when LeBron James gets political, that when LeBron James talks about politics, the Laura Ingrams of the world, what a shocker, a white racist woman on Fox News, says, shut up and dribble. But when Caitlin Clark doesn't want to answer a question directly and doesn't want to get involved, all of a sudden they attack her. People like Matt Walsh, people like Megyn Kelly, and we could put those tweets up there if that's cool, Numchuck, because I want to be able to read those to the listeners, because Matt Walsh is somebody who attacks transgenders and black people 24/7. To be honest with you, that's what he does. That's what he does. And I want to read you this tweet from Matt Walsh. He says, Caitlin Clark might be the biggest coward in the history of sports. She refuses to say anything about the anti-white racism she's been subjected to since coming into the league. She punts on the trans question, which is the easiest question you could ever be asked. No spine. No, Matt, you're wrong. It's not that Caitlin Clark has no spine. She doesn't want to get involved in that political conversation. You racist, anti-trans, homophobic buffoon, you. Matt Walsh makes a living attacking transgenders and minorities. Caitlin Clark makes a living playing basketball. She didn't want to get involved and answer the question, and that doesn't mean she doesn't have a spine, you turd. I'm not a very religious person, but I just want to say this right now. I'm praying to my Lord and Savior that Matt Walsh gets deported to North Korea. I'm praying that Matt Walsh gets put in a 4x4 cell for the rest of his life. The country will be a much better place. Matt Walsh is despicable. He's a disgusting human being. He's despicable. You're going after it, really? You're going after it? You're going after her for not wanting to get involved in this stupid conversation? That's what it is. It's a stupid conversation. Matt's angry because Caitlin Clark isn't saying that black female basketball players are racist because they commit hard fouls against her. Yeah, there's plenty of black basketball players that are rookies that are getting a lot of attention in the NBA for years that also get fouled very, very hard by white and black basketball players. But nobody's crying racism because of these morons now, like the Matt Walshes of the world and the Megyn Kellys of the world. It's embarrassing. That's right. Megyn Kelly is another one. She's obsessed with transgenders. She's obsessed. Here's what Megyn Kelly had to say about this.
Caitlin Clark was directly asked to speak on it, and she was cowardly. She refused to do it. It is one thing to inject politics into your sport where they don't belong, like Colin Kaepernick kneeling in the middle of professional football games. It's quite another when little girls are getting the shit kicked out of them in their sport, and you are the most famous woman in women's basketball, and you're directly asked as the issue rears its head in your sport, and you punt on it. You won't say anything. You'd rather let the 12-year-olds handle it. F that. Caitlin Clark.
F that. What a grifting idiot Megyn Kelly is. First of all, she didn't punt on anything. There are no transgenders that play in the WNBA. Number two, it's not her decision to make to talk about these culture war issues. Number three, if it's a black basketball player that's talking about Donald Trump, if it's a black basketball player that's talking about ICE, certainly if it's a black female lesbian criticizing the Trump administration, Megyn Kelly will be the first one to criticize them, shut up and dribble and just play basketball. However, if Caitlin Clark, who, let's be honest, is the face right now of the WNBA, doesn't want to get involved in a culture war discussion or talk about transgenders, Megyn Kelly will call her a coward. Megyn Kelly will say she punted. Megyn Kelly isn't talking about the real prevalent issues facing this country. Matt Walsh isn't talking about the prevalent issues facing this country. The Brandon, the Tatums of the world. Every day they go on social media and they show black people committing crimes. Every day they go on social media praying that a transgender commits a mass shooting. This is what they do. This is what the MAGA movement is, ladies and gentlemen. Laura Loomer does the exact same thing. This is what they do. They don't talk about the war in Iran. They don't talk about the lies put forth by the Trump administration and the fact that the economy is going down the toilet. They don't talk about gas prices. They don't talk about how the guy who they voted for has ruined this country. They're not talking about the Epstein files. No, they're not talking about ICE agents and a rogue agency murdering people on the streets. They're not talking about any of those issues. They're angry at Caitlin Clark because she didn't want to get into a transgender conversation. These stupid MAGA Republican scumbags are what they are. Megyn Kelly, you are a despicable human being. I don't want to break any FCC violations, but boy, do I want to right now because I have some choice words for you. Matt Walsh, who makes a living, who I've gone at it with him on social media. He makes a living attacking black people and transgenders. Like bottom of the barrel, the most despicable douchebags and pure human trash. That's what these people do. Megyn Kelly and Matt Walsh are the media of the Republican Party. That's what they are. I'll throw them in the same category as the Jake Langs of the world and the Sean Hannitys of the world and the Laura Ingrams of the world. They're all the same. They spew hate speech every day. Oh, Brian, come on, you spew hate. Yeah, I'll call you a Trump mushroom gobbler. They attack black people and they attack transgenders every single day. Haven't you guys had enough? Haven't you had enough of these idiots? I got to tell you something. Every day I admire Caitlin Clark more and more. Every day. Because she stays out of this. She doesn't need it to make money. But Riley Gaines needs it, doesn't she? Getting a fifth place, tied for fifth in a swimming meet isn't going to have a career for you. So she's made a nice career for herself. You see, she's discovered that if I just attack transgenders 24/7 and make speeches throughout the country, I'm going to make a lot of money. Riley Gaines has made a nice living for herself, not because she was a college swimmer, which nobody cares about. It's because the MAGA right love a blonde, white, dumb woman attacking transgenders. Sophie Cunningham, I'm going to put her in that same category. Because if Sophie Cunningham really did care about children, if Sophie Cunningham really did care about their safety, wouldn't she be talking about some other issues as well? Is Sophie Cunningham talking about the big and beautiful bill? Sophie Cunningham talk about gun control after a mass shooting when our children are being gunned down? Is she talking about any of those things? The answer is no. Why? Because she's a liar, just like Riley Gaines. You think when Riley Gaines goes on Fox News, she talks about how families are losing their health care, they're losing their food stamps? Oh, but I care about children, but only when it comes to transgenders. These stupid idiots. The Clay Travises of the world, who goes on social media yesterday, he's not talking about the war. He wants to put up $10 million to watch the Las Vegas Aces play a high school basketball team. Takes every opportunity to go after black lesbian basketball players. He's a racist. That is the Republican Party today. I'm not saying every Republican feels this way. I'm not saying every Republican goes after transgenders and black people, but a lot of them do. I'm not saying they're all like that, but chances are if you're a racist and you're homophobic and you're anti-trans, you are a Republican. This is why right now, I could never vote for a Republican. Never. Because they look at Sophie Cunningham like a hero, just like they look at George Zimmerman as some sort of hero. They look at the Tate brothers as heroes. Just like they look at Kyle Rittenhouse as a hero, some dumb, stupid kid who's probably, I don't know, IQ of maybe 30. That might be generous. I put him in the same category as wet brain Nick Shirley. Or the McCloskeys, who get in front of their lawn when nobody was on their private property and they start to point guns at a bunch of black people. And then a few months later, they're speaking at the Republican National Convention. Make no mistake about this. Charlie Kirk paid Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at some college events. Charlie Kirk did that. No, but Charlie Kirk's not right. He wasn't racist. Where the party is at today. Attack black female basketball players for hard fouls in a basketball game because all of a sudden they're not just infectious disease experts. They're not just election integrity experts. Apparently I have 20 years of basketball officiating experience. Okay. But apparently they know more about basketball than I do as well. Laura Ingraham is a professional when it comes to fouls. Really quickly, if you saw the Sophie Cunningham foul, and then she took an inadvertent elbow to the face, which happens in almost every basketball game. Okay. Inadvertent elbows. Occasionally it's intentional. This was not intentional. Sophie Cunningham commits a foul, gets in someone's space right here, makes physical contact with a player. It was a foul. And then the player's trying to create space and an inadvertent elbow. And they're making that about racism too, because it was a black female basketball player. These people are so stupid. I'm not kidding. That's what Fox News is covering. Laura Ingraham covered it yesterday. She did a whole segment about how Sophie Cunningham took an elbow to the face and it was racism. Where are we at as a country? Yes, I've said it time and time again. Yes, I don't believe that transgender women should be competing with women on the playing field. But I cover politics for a living. I'm a political commentator. Why should a professional athlete have to answer that question? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain that to me? Why? 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 They don't want to talk about the real issues facing the American people. They don't want to talk about the war in Iran, the economy, healthcare. But they want to attack Caitlin Clark because she didn't want to get into a conversation about transgenders in sports. These people are pathetic. They are pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, Let's talk about Max Miller for a moment. Another perfect example of the hypocrisy within the Republican Party. Do we remember when that Plattner stuff came out? The first time I heard about Plattner and the first time I heard about a Nazi tattoo that he had, I said he shouldn't be running for office. The first time I heard about that, I said, it's got to be dropped out. A few weeks later, he's gone because the Democrats said enough is enough. Most of the Democrats immediately said he needs to resign. And then everybody got on board and Plattner resigned. Allegations. Let me remind you. Now, I thought they were very credible allegations. I tend to believe most victims. But Plattner was never charged with a crime. We know that he had alcohol abuse. We know that he had plenty of women that accused him of abuse. And the Democrats did the right thing, just like they did with Swalwell. Immediately outed. Max Miller, the opposite. It's insane. These allegations are beyond credible. His ex-wife. And I was talking with George Santos earlier this morning, and I know some of you might say, well, that's not a really credible person to hear. Okay, well, that's fine. I can talk to you about Moreno. But I will give George Santos credit for this because back in 2023, he said that Max Miller was a wife beater. Ask Moreno's daughter about this situation. But Senator Husted won't call for Representative Max Miller to withdraw from running for re-election, despite all these horrible and credible allegations. Listen to what Senator Husted had to say.
That race. I did want to know, though, whether you think Congressman Miller should seek re-election or withdraw before next week's deadline.
Well, look, I'm very saddened by the whole situation for everyone. I know all the families involved, and let's focus on letting them sort through this at a family level. The political ramifications, I think, will work themselves out. But I just personally am sad about the situation, and I hope that the president's intervention can help move things along.
What a coward. They say the exact opposite when it came to Plattner because he has a D next to his name. Again, let me repeat, anybody who faces these sort of credible allegations of abuse should not be running for office. They should not be running for office. It is a fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats today as a whole. It is a fundamental difference. Representative Jimmy Patronis says that he agrees with the President of the United States that this is a good man and that there are two sides to every story. I wonder what the other side of the story is. But, you know, it is interesting that Max Miller put out a video, and in that video that he put out, he said, how could I basically have abused my ex-wife because she made me dinner 6 days later? I mean, you want to talk about the creepiest of all creepies, and listen to Jimmy Patronis on News Nation make excuses for this sick human being, Max Miller.
I'd be remiss not to ask you about the latest scandal that's rocking Congress. The abuse allegations against Ohio Republican Congressman Max Miller. His ex-father-in-law, Ohio Republican Senator Bernie Moreno, accuses him of abusing his daughter, abusing his granddaughter. And Moreno says Miller should resign, but President Trump just disagreed with that. Take a listen.
It's a very sad thing. I know Max. He's a good person. I mean, I always thought he was a very good person. And I'm going to let the families figure that out. It's a very sad thing, especially when you know somebody so well, to be going through that. But it's accusations, and I'm going to let them figure that out.
Congressman, just about 30 seconds left in show before I pass the baton on to the next hour. But do you think Max Miller should step down?
No, look, I agree with the president. This is a family fight. Unfortunately, divorces are messy. Parents get protective over their children and their grandchildren, and there are two sides to every story.
There are two sides to every story. The only story I've heard from this SOB Max Miller is that, well, she made me dinner 6 days later, so it couldn't have happened. You have literally congressmen on the House floor that are calling him a woman beater. You have Moreno, who did a media scrum today, talking about the hell that his daughter has had to go through in fear of her life because of this despicable man. These are credible allegations, and yet MAGA Republicans stand by their guy. We have Stephanie Grisham, who warned Donald Trump, warned Melania Trump about this man's abuse. And she claims, and I believe her, that Melania and Donald Trump turned away. Either didn't believe her or didn't care, according to Grisham, who I think is a very credible person. This man has a history of abuse. There are police reports. There is documentation. He is a lunatic. Now, in the end, I think that Max Miller will probably drop out. And the reason why I think he will probably drop out is because of pressure, not because of his alleged abuse, but because Republicans want the seat, because they think he'll lose. That's probably inevitably why. And think about Donald Trump for a moment and his support for Matt Gaetz, his support for Roy Moore. Think about the people who Donald Trump has supported over the years. Should we be surprised? This is the fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans today. If you're a woman abuser, we're going to stand by you until we have to budge. If you're in the Democrat Party, we want you out. Again, I go back to Al Franken, a borderline inappropriate picture. He was gone. But if you're accused of abusing women and putting a gun to their head, by the way, his ex-wife was interviewed about that while she was emotional and crying. I tend to believe her. It's only a family situation. Oh, it's unfortunate, but divorces are very messy. Interesting. I know a lot of people in my life who've had divorces. They never put a gun to somebody's head. They never were alleged to have abused anybody. Divorces are messy. That's their excuse. George Santos was right in 2023. He was right. This man is a woman abuser. This man should never be running for office. These are who the Republicans have. These are who the Republicans stand by. The Roy Moores of the world. The Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz was almost the Attorney General. And now Max Miller, as Donald Trump characterized him as being a wonderful man. You're all sick. So you're listening to, let's kind of like regroup here because I want to get to the YouTube super chats. Listening to 107.1 FM, 1400 AM KSHP. I want to get to the YouTube super chats because we know I have plenty of them to get to. I'm fired up today. I'm frustrated. The two big topics that I want to talk about. I mean, we mentioned the Todd Blanche stuff. So if you want to talk about that, you're welcome to. But I want to focus on the transgenders that the MAGA Republicans seem to be fixated on. And the fact that they're so angry at Caitlin Clark for not wanting to get into that discussion. You imbeciles, you. Chloe says, maybe Mr. Blanche's mother would like to avail herself of a 153rd trimester abortion. We won't look. Yeah. They want to ban abortion nationwide. They have no problems. They claim they care about women and they care about children. It's a joke. Tony says 9 out of 10 MAGA women say Trump is the only man they'd leave their brother for. Yeah, well, 6 out of 10 Republicans think that Trump won the 2020 election. That's why we call it a cult, Tony. It's an absolute cult. These people are sick human beings. They are sick. Safety First says, do you believe Jon Stewart is the answer in 2028 as we need to bring new life into the left at the highest level? Well, Safety, it's a really good question you ask. I love Jon Stewart. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. The question is, does Jon Stewart want to be president? I think he would beat anybody. It's a really good question, but I would say the same thing about Michelle Obama. But the question is, do they want to run? Michelle doesn't want to run. Brandon, thank you so much for your 1999 donation. Detroit Lions fan, I see. I love the hat, Brian. This should be your go-to look now. This is a hat that Shannon Elizabeth gave me, so I promised her I would wear it from time to time, and it fits well. Thank you for your donation, sir. I do appreciate that. Yeah, sad times that we are living in right now. Really is sad times. Eagles fan, thank you for your very generous donation. Eagles fan says they can't run on issues, so they go culture wars. I agree. I talk about this every day. They don't want to talk about the war in Iran. They don't want to talk about the economy. They don't want to talk about healthcare. No, they don't. These are sick people. These are sick people. Is that it for the YouTube super chat? Okay, we'll continue to get your questions and comments read live on the air as the show goes on. We're opening up the phone lines at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, as those YouTube comments keep coming in. Shelley says the transgender issue for Republicans is all a distraction from everything else they're doing or not doing. I completely agree with you, Shelley. Name me one bill that the Republicans have passed in the last year and a half that has helped the American people. They wanted a bipartisan housing bill. Eventually, that is going to help the American people, but Donald Trump tried to do everything in his power, to block that. All right. So before we get to the calls at 702-221-7283, if you support what I do, I would ask that you consider becoming a paid member on my YouTube page. I know we have some great members and some great people who support what I do here. Paid members get prioritized engagement, shout outs, and exclusive content. They also make what we do here at Pushing the Limits possible every day. So the YouTube super chats are great. Keep them coming in. We appreciate your support. You could also go to my website, which is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make you could make more donations. As Lori says, I just gifted 20 Pushing the Limit memberships. Lori, that is so sweet of you. We so appreciate you, Lori. You're such a great contributor to the show. And without people like Lori, we wouldn't be here. So thank you, Lori, for your generous help. We really do appreciate you every day. Amir says, Brian, tell me some good news happening in your life. I truly appreciate all you do. Top 3 favorite bands. Amir, I appreciate that. My favorite band of all time is a band called Live. My second favorite band of all time is a band called Filter. I don't know if I have a third favorite band. I'll get back to you on that one. Maybe Stone Temple Pilots. I don't know. Those are my 3 favorite bands of all time. Amir, I appreciate the question. It's nice to be able to get a little bit outside my range of politics once in a while. I appreciate that, and thank you for your donation. All right, so check out my Substack as well for great exclusive content all over there as well. It's Pushing the Limits and the number 1. We have a lot of big news with this show, and we're expanding it, and it wouldn't be available without people like you out there. Chris, thank you for your support. Says Chuck Grassley can't retire from the Senate because his prior career of dinosaur herding doesn't exist anymore. That's really funny. He basically is a dinosaur. You're right. I would say that about any job. Like if you're taking a job from somebody that would be younger and more energy and more qualified, then why don't you just retire already and take a seat? Especially if you're somebody like Chuck Grassley. Like I completely agree with you, right? Completely agree with you on that one. All right, so a couple topics that we are covering today. If you want to talk about Todd Blanche, I'm happy to do that. But the 2 topics that I'm interested in today, the attacks on Caitlin Clark, the attacks on transgenders, the fact that people on the right are obsessed. They are obsessed with transgenders. And the fact that Caitlin Clark didn't want to get into a conversation about transgenders. Now, all of a sudden, they're attacking her. I guess it's not shut up and dribble if it's a white, straight woman, but it's shut up and dribble if it's a black man, in this case, LeBron James. We remember Laura Ingram's statements. Do you remember her statements about shut up and dribble when it came to LeBron James? All right, number to call as we put the number on the bottom of the screen in a moment, 702-221-7283. I believe Justin is calling out of Florida. Hello, Justin. What's up, man? I believe my viewership has gone up because word of mouth. I haven't really changed the way I cover the news in any way, shape, or form. I did the same thing in Trump's first go around when he was president. So I think my coverage goes up because of my coverage of the news of the day and the news of the week. Like, for example, today I wasn't really covering Donald Trump, was I? Okay. Yeah. Well, that would be the issue. So just to give you a little heads up, Justin, I talked about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark and attacks on Caitlin Clark. I covered Todd Blanche's hearing and also today talking not just about the WNBA, but I'm also talking about a guy who I believe is a woman abuser, and Max Miller, and the fact that so many people on the right are still supporting him. So today's coverage was not in regards to anything Donald Trump said. It's in regards to the news of the day. So I think hard work pays off, and I've been doing a lot of that over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. The YouTube channel has grown. The Facebook channel over the course of the last 6 months is gone through the roof. I think we're almost at 250,000 subs, and I'm very humbled and I'm very happy with where the direction of this show is going. What do you think? Okay.
That you say.
All right. Well, let's talk
I'm not
about that.
happy with everything that Trump.
Let's talk about
I'm not
that.
happy with everything that Trump does or says.
Okay, so hold on.
Sure.
I would love to have a conversation. You seem like a nice guy. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Can you name me one economic metric that is better off now than it was when Joe Biden left office?
See, this is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay, so can you answer my question though with respect, sir? Can you name me one economic metric where we're better off today than we were when Joe Biden left office?
I think that only time will tell.
No. That way, I'm not talking, sir. With respect. Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't ask you what the future will be. Donald Trump said he would lower prices on day one. Has he done that?
There have been some things that have lowered. I just went and got gas.
Okay. What was gas prices when Joe Biden left office to now? Are they higher or lower?
About the same.
No, they're not. No, they're not the same. Gas. No, they're not the same. Gas was not over $4 a gallon when Joe Biden left office. Inflation, is it higher now or is it lower since Joe Biden left office? I find
maybe a little high.
No, it's not. No, it's not a little higher. No, that's not true. It was under 3% when Joe Biden left office. It was 4.2% 2 months ago. It was 3.5% last month. Those are high increases. Is the unemployment rate higher or lower now than it was when Joe Biden left office?
I mean, it's probably higher now.
Okay. So those are basically all the basic economic metrics. We're a year and a half into the administration. What was it about the Democrat Party or Kamala Harris and her policies that she wanted to implement that you think were bad for the country?
I just really didn't feel she was a great communicator, and
she wasn't a great communicator. You think Donald Trump is a good communicator?
I mean, obviously he won the presidency.
Didn't ask you whether he won the presidency or not. Do you think Donald Trump is a really good communicator? When he threatens Democrats, when he threatens the lives of 6 elected Democrats, when he lies every day about the economy, do you think he's done a good job with the war in Iran when he tells America every day that they're begging for a deal? Who was the guy who said, I won't get us into any wars and I'm going to be a peace president? Was that Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Who made that promise to the American people? Is that communicating well?
It was Trump.
Okay, so is that would you call that person a good communicator who lies to the American people? Has he communicated very well about the war in Iran? What was the objective of the war? 2 weeks after the war, when he said the war would last 4 to 6 weeks tops, would you label that as a good communicator?
Happy about it.
I'm glad we agree, sir. I'm glad we agree. I think that's great. Well, absolutely, sir. But let me just finish this point, and then you can take the floor. Okay, is that fair?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you said that Kamala Harris was not a great communicator. You know what? I'll tend to agree with you. I don't think she was the greatest communicator in the world. She wasn't my first, second, or third pick. But compared to Donald Trump, I think she's a better communicator. Donald Trump has lied to the American people. He mumbles and bumbles. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He said you need ID to buy bread. He said Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq. He said he defeated Barack Obama. He doesn't communicate with the American people in any honest fashion. He won't tell us where these billions of dollars are going. He made $1.4 billion in a crypto scandal. He is lying to the American people about tariffs. He said we would be getting $5,000 Doge checks. We never got that. He stole literally $175 billion from the American people when it comes to Doge. You think Trump is a good communicator? Has he worked well with Democrats? Why are his approval ratings around 30% and 16% among independents if he was such a great communicator, sir?
Look, it's not all about communication. Obviously.
Okay, well, you brought that up. If it's not all about communication, then what was your problem with Kamala Harris? That was the first thing you mentioned.
No, I said I didn't like Kamala's the way she communicated.
Okay.
I like Trump's better.
Okay.
But it's not all only about that.
Okay, so tell me.
Obviously, I'm not happy with. Well, what? Tell me
What
about
is it
what?
about
Tell
the
you what,
Democrat? What is it about the Democrat Party and Kamala Harris policy that you think would have been worse for the country than where we're at right now? We both agree that by almost every economic metric, we are worse off today than we were when Joe Biden left office. So give me an example of how you think Kamala would have been worse for the country.
I think where she was talking about that she was going to give certain people like a certain amount of money for homes. I thought that was a very
Gotcha.
lofty and kind
Very
of like,
lofty. Okay, let's talk about
yeah,
that. Let's
very
talk about
lofty
money.
idea.
Fair enough.
No, wait. I wanted to ask you a question.
All right, hold
though.
on.
You
Let's
told
just
me I
finish.
could.
Let's just finish
You
that
you
point.
told me I could, and now you're
I'm a man
you're
of
not
my
letting me
word,
talk. You're not letting me ask.
sir. Don't spurg out. I'm going to give you the opportunity
No, I'm
to.
not spurging out, but
Okay,
you
sir.
told me that I
Sir,
could ask
I
you a
will
question.
give. Just be patient. I promise you. I will give you the opportunity in a moment to ask your question. You just said you were upset about Kamala Harris's housing. What? Okay, so let's talk about that. What was she offering the American people? Do you know what was in that proposed bill?
Brian, you've asked me like 3 questions. You don't let me.
I'm
ask
asking
one.
you one question. You spoke about housing.
You've asked twice. You've asked
Okay,
3 questions.
so what was in that proposal? What was in it? What was she offering the American people in this housing bill that she wanted to propose? What was in it?
It was thousands of dollars.
How much? How much?
Family.
How much?
Brian, I don't know this specific.
So you don't know any. So
don't.
okay. So hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit. I asked you a proposed policy that Kamala had that you think what's your biggest criticism? You said some housing bill. I asked you, what are the details in the bill? You have no idea. So let's try this again. I would like you to answer.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it.
I'm sure.
It was a
Yeah,
couple of years ago.
I'm sure. I asked you for the number one thing when it comes to Kamala, besides you don't think she's a good communicator, which means
It was
nothing.
one of the things. It
Okay,
was one
so
of the things.
okay, so you don't even know what's in the bill. So can you name me a policy proposed by Kamala Harris where you actually know the details and you could say that would have been bad for the country? Can you name me one thing? Because the housing thing fell apart for you. You don't even know what you're talking about. Can you name me one thing, and then you can ask me your question? But please answer mine first.
Right now, honestly, I can't think of anything.
Okay, so let's backtrack, and then I'll give you the opportunity because I'm a man of my word. I asked you for one criticism of Kamala Harris and why you didn't vote for her after we had already gone through the economy in shambles right now because of the guy you voted for. I gave you the numbers. And you can't name me one specific thing about Kamala Harris that you didn't like other than she's a bad communicator. Sir, do you understand why I don't take people like you guys seriously? Now, I will still give you the chance to ask your question, which I'm sure is a very intelligent one. But when you criticize a politician, can you come up with some policies? Like, for example, I don't like the big and beautiful bill because up to 20 million Americans are losing their health care coverage. I don't like the fact that he's taking taking food stamps away from millions of Americans. I don't like the fact. No, you're going to listen for a moment because I'm going to educate you, sir, and I'm going to educate you on how you answer a question when you don't like a politician. Okay. Iran war, which we both agree was a debacle. Okay. He has ruined the economy. He has ruined this country. I just gave you specific policy, whether it be foreign policy, and you can't name me one thing that Kamala Harris would have done that you think would have been bad for the country. So go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Okay. A question and a comment, really. You know, you say you're a centrist, that when people call you a Democrat, you're like, I'm not a Democrat. I've never voted for.
I don't care whether you, I don't
And you-
care. I don't care whether you think I'm a Democrat or a liberal. It means absolutely nothing to me. I don't care. So ask me something that's more relevant.
Not that you, but you always say that. You always.
Okay. Well, because I am. I'm a registered independent, sir. I'm sorry if you don't like facts. So that's all the things going on in this country. Hold on a second. All the questions that you could have asked me. No, you hold it. All the questions that you could have asked me, and you're upset because I say I'm a registered independent, all the things that you could criticize me for, and that's what you want to ask me about? Okay, dummy, I'll answer your question. I'm a registered independent. I'm very anti-Donald Trump. I absolutely lean to the left on social issues, and I have very little in common with MAGA Republicans, okay? I've been a registered independent my whole life. I voted for 8 Republicans in the last midterms, 8 Republicans that were not MAGA Republicans. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I am for border security. I am for capital punishment. Did I answer your question, sir? Your very intelligent question and concern?
No.
Oh, okay. What did I not?
Get to finish.
Okay, please finish because you're killing me, sir. You're killing me. Please finish.
Spurred out before me finishing asking the question. You spurred out on me.
No, I didn't spurg out. You're asking me about me being on the left or in the middle, which I don't care about. Finish your stupid question.
My question You see, Brian, there's no need to call me names.
I'll
Why?
call you
Why?
whatever I
I'm a
want. You're
fan of
wasting. You're
yours.
wasting my
I'm a
time,
fan of
Snowflake.
yours.
Snowflake, you're wasting
I'm
my
a
time.
fan of yours,
I don't
man.
care. I don't
I'm a
care.
fan.
I
I'm
don't
a
care
fan
whether
of
you're a
yours,
fan of
bro.
mine or not. Ask your stupid question. Go, or the conversation's over.
All right. So since you're a centrist, you're an independent, and you go so hard against the ones on the right. When have you ever gone as hard for somebody on the right?
Well,
if you're on the
Sure.
center,
Sure.
when have you done that?
Sure. So first I'll say is this. Can you find me somebody that was the president of the United States that was in the Epstein files 40,000 times? Can you find somebody on the left that was president of the United States that made $1.4 billion in a year? Can you find somebody on the left in my lifetime that got us into an ill-advised war? Can you find somebody on my left I'm answering your question, so shut up. I'm fine. Can you shut up and let me finish answering? Otherwise, the conversation is over. Don't interrupt me again. Okay. Now, can you find me an elected official on the left that is all over the Epstein files, an elected official that is a liable sexual abuser? Because if you can, I'll be happy to call them out right now. Go ahead, sir. Someone's made $1.4 billion in the last year on the left. Please name them right now, and I will gladly call them out on the left. Go ahead, sir.
I'm not only talking about the president.
Okay, I'm not talking about
anybody
I'm not
right.
talking about the president either. Find me an elected official on the left that has had the levels of corruption that is all over the Epstein files like Donald Trump is. Find me an elected official anywhere on the left. Go ahead, sir.
That you missed the point of my
No, you missed the point. The reason why you missed the point. The reason why I go as hard at Donald Trump is because he's the only elected official on either side of the aisle that has done the things that he has done. He is the only elected sir, I'm waiting for you to name me one elected official on the left. Will you listen to my question? Name me one elected. Will you? I answered your question. You're just not smart enough to understand it, dummy. I'll say it again. The reason why I go so hard at Donald Trump, besides the fact that he's currently,
not only Donald
are
Trump
you
I'm
going to
talking about,
shut
I'm talking about
up and
anybody on the
listen?
right.
Are you going to
Anybody
shut up?
on the right.
Are you going to shut up and listen, or are you going to interrupt me again? I try to answer your question. You don't pay attention and listen. First, you said I'm not talking just about the president. My response to that was, can you find me anybody on the left that has had the levels of corruption that Donald Trump has had, that's all over the Epstein files, a liable sexual abuser and a 34-count felon? If you can find me today, one person on the left that has those levels that Donald Trump has, I will gladly call them out as well. I called out Eric Swalwell for his alleged sexual abuse, and I called him to step down immediately. I said that even though I believe Kamala Harris is a nice lady, I believe she's a very smart lady and a very nice lady, I would like to see some others run for president. I've said Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib are despicable human beings. I wish they weren't in Congress. I've said in regards to many people on the left that I am not fans of theirs. But I'm asking you again because you fail to understand me. Can you name me one? Can you name me one elected official on the left that has the same levels of corruption and the same levels of breaking the law and ripping up our Constitution the way that Donald Trump does? If you can name me one elected official currently on the left, then I will gladly call them out as well. I'm giving you the opportunity to do that. Go ahead, sir.
I will answer if I can ask a question after. Can I ask a question after?
Why are you giving me ultimatums? Why don't you just answer the question, coward?
Because you don't let me ask. You don't let me speak.
I don't let you speak.
But no,
all right.
I can't.
Get out of here. You've been on the phone for 15 minutes with me. I've let you speak for 15 minutes. I answered your stupid question. Have a nice day, you Trump mushroom gobbling buffoon. DJ Kid from Philadelphia is next. What's up, DJ Kid?
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing all right.
I have a question and a point to make. So let me make my point first. Sure. I listen to your clips even when you're not live, and I'll be cracking up. So this is for the how do you say the MAGA mushroom gobblers?
Trump, that works too. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, every time you ask them about Kamala Harris, what policies they didn't like, they stutter and then they run to the border so much that I feel like I'm listening to a Taco Bell commercial. So let me just say what they're afraid to say or don't have the heart to say. You didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's black. Just say it and get it over with. It's like when you got to pass gas and your stomach cramps. Once you pass gas, you'll feel better. Just say it. I mean, I won't be mad. I've been dealing with racists all my life. So just say it. And my question is, where is Mitch McConnell? All we saw was a AI picture where he looked better in the picture than he did in Congress. I mean, in the Senate. Where is Mitch McConnell?
I think it's either one of three things: either he's dead, either he's brain dead, or he's so incapacitated, clinging to life. It's got to be one of the three. If it wasn't the case, he would have put out a video or something by now. So I think it's pretty obvious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're trying to hold on to power. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
This is all
It
about.
doesn't matter whether you're a woman abuser. It doesn't matter whether you're a felon. It doesn't matter whether you're in the Epstein files. All they care about is remaining in power. It's really sick and it's sad. 702-221-7283. Rick is calling out of California. Hey, Rick, what's going on? Wants to talk about the trans issue. What's up, Rick?
Yeah. Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
What's up?
Yeah. So I just had a question. I was wondering if you get so defensive about transgenders is because you wear lipstick.
Is that a serious question, sir? Would you like to have a serious conversation about transgenders? No, sir, I don't wear lipstick. I know you thought that was very funny to make that joke. Would you actually like to talk about the transgender issue, or did you just call in to clown and make a joke? Because if it's just about making a joke, then I'm not really interested in furthering the conversation. But if you would like to have a real conversation about transgender issues, then I'm happy to do that with you, sir. So which one is it for you?
How come we can't have a serious conversation about you wearing
Okay.
lipstick?
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day. 702-221-7283. Morgan is calling from California. Hello, Morgan. Morgan from California. Morgan, you're next on PTL. What's going on?
How you doing, sir? Thank you for having me. Just a couple of questions. So how do you feel, one, on Donald Trump getting us to net negative migration? And then
Hold on, one at a time. Morgan, one at a time, because I'm going to forget, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I'll let you ask your second question.
Sure.
So first of all, 350,000 people deported is not what I would consider mass migration. If you want to look at the definition of mass migration, look at what Barack Obama did. That's number one. Number two, in regards to migration in general, I'm very unhappy. Here's what I'm very unhappy about. Only about 6% of the people that are being deported are violent criminals. Tom Homan and Donald Trump said their priority would be going after the violent criminals. Over 90% of the people that have been deported right now are nonviolent criminals. If they were deporting a bunch of nonviolent criminals, a majority, let's just say, I'd be totally fine with that. In fact, most of America would. I'm sure you would be as well. They're not doing that, number two. Number three, when it comes to immigrants and deportations, they're literally breaking the law and breaking our Constitution for people in particular that are seeking asylum from Mexico. If you're filing the proper paperwork and seeking asylum from certain countries, it is illegal for our government to deport you. Donald Trump is doing that every single day. In fact, they're doing it right outside of courtrooms. So that would be number three. And then number four, which I think might be just as important as anything else I said, was ICE. It's a rogue agency. All you need is 47 days of training. There are ICE agents around the country that are literally murdering people. There's no full investigations into Renee Good. There's been still no accountability for what happened to Alex Preddy, shot in the back 8 times without a weapon on his person. And there's still been no accountability with what happened in Houston and what happened in Maine, sir. So no, I think it's been an absolute disaster. And by the way, the facts don't lie. Kristi Noem was fired. You had Bovino, who was forced into retirement. It was an embarrassment what happened in Minneapolis. I think it's been an utter disaster, Morgan. I think it's been horrible. Do you agree or disagree with me?
Well, I can see where you're coming from, for sure.
Do you disagree, Morgan? Like, it's okay if you disagree, but like, you think it's been a success?
Well, I wouldn't call it a success because honestly, we could have everybody out of here that's not supposed to be here. There are, legal ways to go about immigration. It's a mess, yes.
Can I ask you, Morgan? Can I ask you more?
Yes,
yeah, I agree with you. We agree that this has been a mess for a very long time, and Republicans and Democrats have not done a good job in dealing with this situation.
Absolutely.
So we agree with that. But here's maybe where we disagree, right? I think if you've been in this country for 20 or 30 years and the only crime you've committed is a misdemeanor and you don't have the proper paperwork and you have a family here, I want there to be a pathway to citizenship. And I think it needs to be a case-by-case basis. Obviously, get rid of all the violent criminals. I'm totally good with that. But I think when it comes to separating families and people that have lived here for 20 or 30 years, there has to be some sort of penalty that they should have to pay and some sort of pathway to citizenship. There has to be some sort of system put in place. And I think Republicans and Democrats need to come together and they need to find solutions. And they're just not doing that. It's like either deport everybody or don't deport anybody. And I think that both are wrong. And I think that there needs to be some middle ground.
I would have to agree.
Okay. So, Morgan, go ahead. You could ask your second question. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so my second question is one that I'm sure everybody's asking, watching you on YouTube. I'm seeing this in the chat. Is why did your mommy put you in that stupid ass hat this morning?
Well, actually, it wasn't my mommy. It was actually a woman called Shannon Elizabeth, a very attractive and beautiful woman who was in the movie American Pie. Those are some of the friends that I have, sir, while you sit there and use your Trump fingers to call into a show and be an unserious person. I know that gets you very upset, sir, because while you want to make fun of my hat, it's actually a hat that's for charity, for saving animals. And it's actually a woman that is probably far more attractive than anybody you'll ever meet in your life. So have a very nice day, sir. But I am very, I'll be honest with you, sir. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is a middle-aged white MAGA supporter named Morgan calling into the show. I hope I look good for him. So you're the first person that I think about, sir. Have a very nice day. And what a shocker that somebody named Morgan who calls into the show wants all brown people deported. I'm shocked. It's very shocking. Shannon Elizabeth sends her regards, sir, but she would never hang out with somebody like you. Let's see, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Rob. Rob is calling out of Ohio. What's up, Rob?
Not much. Hey, Brian, I just wanted to ask you, after Trump is gone from politics or life, even better,
yep.
What kind of trials do you think will occur? You know, I'm talking about the enablers in Congress that absolutely didn't do their jobs. And let's hope that the next time the Democrats are in office, we get a better AG than Merrick Garland. We needed a pit bull and got a poodle last time.
Merrick Garland was an absolute failure. I think all of us, most of us, will agree on that one. Well, I'm counting on Jack Smith, because my understanding is when Donald Trump leaves office, there's still a chance that he could be prosecuted. I think you go after everybody. I think Democrats, they take over the House and the Senate, hopefully win the presidency in 2028. You go after everybody. You go after the Trump family. You go after all of his associates. And if they broke the law, you prosecute them to the highest extent of the law. You go after everybody on the right that broke the law for Donald Trump, who enriched themselves because of Donald Trump. You go all holds bar.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask you, all those crimes that he was going to stand trial for before the 24 election, will those still be hanging over his head if he even survives to 28?
So when it comes to Jack Smith, yes, he can still prosecute Donald Trump. As far as the other cases, I'm not so sure. But I know Jack Smith is waiting in the background here for this presidency to end, and I think he has the goods to prosecute.
I think Trump is in such bad physical shape. I tell you what, I'll be surprised if he's still alive at Christmas time.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't know what you're talking about, sir. He looks so healthy to me. Have you seen his beautiful golf swing? Have you seen his beautiful skin? It's like his skin is trying to separate from his body, and the rashes he has all over his body, and the morbidly obese potato that he is, the orange potato, if that's possible. Going to the YouTube super chat. Apologize if I missed some. Johnny Doggett says, thank you for your generous donation, sir. Says, if everybody was where they should be, Scump would be in jail right now. I tend to agree with you, Johnny Dog, but we'll have to wait and see what happens when he leaves office. I have some hope for Jack Smith. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Scott says, as with all the Republican schemes like the Iran-Contra affair, WMDs in Iraq and Venezuela, this is brought to you by Nixon's lingering gift, the Russian dark money funded Heritage Foundation. Yeah, that's true. And guess what? The Heritage Foundation, I actually cited the other day in a debate because they say there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. That's what's hilarious. 702-221-7283. Let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Jihad, who's calling out of North Carolina. Wants to talk about the war, I think. Jihad, what's up?
Calling out of North Carolina. Wants to talk about
lower
the
your
war, I
radio.
think.
Lower your radio,
Jihad.
sir, because there's a little bit of a 5-second delay there. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Brian.
Hi, Jihad. Go right ahead.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, just want to ask you a quick question about the war in Iran and make a few comments on the abuse. Do you think diplomacy can still work, or is it far too gone? Because I feel like every morning we wake up, it's something new. Iran is ready to make a deal. and then there's something else. Or
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true though. With respect, I don't think Iran is trying to make a deal. I don't think they want anything to do with Donald Trump or the administration. I don't think the Trump administration had any idea what they were getting themselves into with this evil regime. I think if the right people are in office and we have the right leadership, then yes, diplomacy it's possible, but not with Donald Trump. Not with Donald Trump running the show.
Yeah, because I feel like, he wants to get out of the war now, but there's no end in sight for him, and it's always something. But I also want to make a comment on the abuse. I feel like Republicans are being selective with, accountability, because I feel like when allegations involve Democrats, they are so often loud calls for resignations and consequences.
Right.
But then when it's someone from their own party faces similar criticism, it's like the response is much slower and quieter. Why do you think that is?
It's a good question that you ask. And the best answer I could give you is this. I believe many of the Republicans that are in D.C. today have no moral compass. They have no moral compass and they don't care. The way they've handled the Epstein files is a perfect example of that. I'm not saying every Democrat elected official is perfect, but when you look, you're right. When you look at Eric Swalwell, basically every Democrat in office called for his resignation. There were some Democrats that were holding on to Plattner, but the overwhelming majority of Democrats wanted him to step down as well. Fundamentally, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll give you an example. I remember, do you remember when Mitch McConnell was freezing up? Do you remember when he had those medical issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched that video.
Yeah. The first person to call Mitch McConnell, guess who it was?
I'm not sure.
Joe Biden. He called Mitch McConnell to see how he was doing, because Joe Biden is a decent man. Now, when Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer and almost died, while he was in surgery, fighting for his life, you had elected officials like Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz that were spreading rumors on social media that it was some sort of gay relationship and they were making jokes about it. It is a fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans today. The word that I like to use is empathy. Most Democrats in D.C. do have empathy for people, whether they're on the right or the left. I think a lot of Republicans in D.C. do not.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like the principle should be the same regardless of party.
Of course.
And I also want to make a comment. Listening to you debate these MAGA mushroom gobblers, it runs my blood pressure up high.
Well,
and imagining you questioning. So I just want to make a suggestion, Brian. Just get you some beet juice, maybe go to Walmart, blend it with ginger, lime, because I'm pretty sure the blood pressure is high. So
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. I do. And you asked some great questions. Here's what I will say to that. And this goes for everybody. You have to stay true to who you are. I am somebody who has a lot of passion, right? Sometimes I get fired up. Happens a lot. I'm a very passionate person. We have to stay true to who we are. So if I smoked some herb, for lack of a better, not herb, not to be confused with Herb the caller. If I smoked some herb before the show would probably not be as entertaining. So I have to stay true to who I am. But I respect your statement and I appreciate that. And I also think you asked some really good questions. And I appreciate that as well, my friend. Thank you so much. Please call back anytime. By the way, as we reset, the number to call is 702-221-7283 as we put the number on the bottom of the screen there. 702-221-7283. There's a couple topics that we're discussing today. I think the attacks on Caitlin Clark are absolutely horrific and ridiculous. She's a coward. She just doesn't want to get involved in a political conversation. She's taking the high road, which I respect Caitlin Clark greatly for that. But when it comes to LeBron James talking about politics, if they don't like his opinions, shut up and dribble. We're talking a little bit about that. And I think Sophie Cunningham, to me anyway, and this is my personal opinion, is just Riley Gaines 2.0. In my opinion, they're two of the same. We're talking about that. And we're talking about Max Miller and the fact that there are so many Republicans out there that still are standing by their guy, Max Miller, who I believe is a woman abuser. I believe his ex-wife. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Cassie is next up, calling out of Michigan, I believe. Hello, Cassie.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
Cassie.
Hi, Brian. I'm a transgender, and I wanted to talk about the sports thing.
Okay.
Okay. So I am with you that men, trans women, should not play in sports with biological women. Okay? My main reason is because it just smears the lip liner really bad.
Okay, so do you have anything serious you'd like to say today, or because I don't want you to quit your
Well,
day
that's
job?
what I. That's
Yeah,
serious.
it's
and
not
serious.
really a very serious thing to say. So
Oh, it
unfortunately,
does.
okay,
It
well,
smears the
okay,
lip
well, hold
liner
on,
bad.
pod this person down. This is a very serious topic to a lot of people. While I don't think it's a top 5 issue or a top 10 issue, I think it's an important issue to talk about because we have a lot of people on the right that are attacking transgenders 24/7. And then we have people like you who call into the show that want to make a joke about it. Now, I understand, you had all day to call into this show and try to make a funny comment. You're not a very funny person. But with that being said, I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Okay. I believe your name is Cassie. Do you think it's appropriate for people on the right to attack Caitlin Clark for not wanting to get involved in this conversation? She's a professional basketball player. She's the face of the WNBA. Are you upset at Caitlin Clark for not wanting to talk about the transgender issue in sports? Are you one of those?
Oh, I could give a. I could care less about that, Brian.
Okay, well, so why do you think?
Really
Okay,
don't
so
like
hold on,
how the
hold on,
lip
hold
liner
on,
gets
hold on, hold
smeared.
on, hold on. I didn't ask you whether you could care less about it or not. That wasn't my question. Okay, I need you to pay attention. My question was, what do you think of the people on the right that are attacking Caitlin Clark today? I didn't ask you whether you cared about it or not. My question is, what do you think about people on the right that are attacking her? Can you respond to that specific question, or are you not capable?
I know
of
nothing about that. It's all
Okay,
about
all
the
right.
lip
Well, thank you,
liner.
but you know a lot about your lip gloss or whatever you said. Thank you very much for the call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call as we go back to the YouTube super chat. Stud says, excellent first hour rant, Brian. Please tell me you have your blood pressure checked regularly. Not as often as it should be checked, believe it or not, Stud, but I appreciate your donation. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. There are things that I do on a regular basis that I enjoy that certainly lower my blood pressure. Going to sporting events, for example, going to concerts, hanging out with friends, going to nice dinners. There's always things we can do in life that can lower our blood pressure. Let's see. Weston is calling out of Utah. He wants to talk about LeBron James. So is that correct, Weston?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about LeBron James did you want to talk about?
Well, I think a lot of people just don't want to hear what he has to say politically because he's a billionaire now.
Mm-hmm.
He really doesn't understand what it's like to be a real person
So
in the
why?
world.
Okay, fair enough. So if you don't want to hear what rich professional basketballers have to say, what do you think about Caitlin Clark?
She really doesn't say much, really.
She was asked, yes, yeah, there's a reason why. But MAGA Republicans are angry at her for not wanting to get into a political conversation about transgenders yesterday. So if your statement is you really don't want to hear from professional athletes about politics, that's fine. I'm just trying to make sure or check to see if you're consistent. That's all. Does that make sense? Am I not making sense, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I am a MAGA Republic. I voted for Trump.
Okay, that's
and
fine. That's fine. That's not my issue with you. We can talk
Well,
about
no.
that. My issue is if you don't want to hear what LeBron James has to say about the black community, about politics, his thoughts on Donald Trump, then why do you care? Why are MAGA Republicans so upset that Caitlin Clark, a white straight woman, didn't want to get into a political conversation? Don't you think that's a little bit hypocritical? Because the reason why I ask is a lot of those same people are saying what you said. I don't want to hear. I don't care what LeBron James says. So why would you care what Sophie Cunningham has to say? Why would you care what Caitlin Clark has to say?
I mean, it's their opinion. That's why I
It's their
I don't
opinion.
agree
Okay,
with a
so
lot of
hold
people,
on. Let's go with that. It's their opinion. So why wouldn't you say the same thing about LeBron James then? Why isn't it just his opinion? Why won't you respond the same way about LeBron? So when it comes to Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark, Well, it's their opinion. When it comes to LeBron James, shut up and play basketball. Do you see the hypocrisy, sir, that you're showing everybody right now?
Well, the difference is when they ask Caitlin Clark and Sophie, they ask them and they want them to talk about it. LeBron just comes out and speaks his opinion. No one asks him about it.
Got you. So
he just thinks he's got all this wisdom in the world and just blurts it out.
So
when no one
hold on.
wants to hear that
Hold
from
on.
him.
So do we have something in this country called freedom of speech? Because I hear
Yes,
you
sir.
guys. Okay, we do. So is LeBron James breaking any laws?
No.
Okay, great. So we would agree fundamentally that LeBron has the right to speak his mind and share his opinions, right?
Yes. And so
Okay,
does
good.
Sophie and
I didn't say they
Caitlin Clark.
didn't. I didn't say they didn't have the right to do so. By the way, the reason why I brought up Caitlin Clark is because MAGA Republicans, people like you maybe, are upset that Caitlin didn't want to get into the conversation. She was asked about it. She didn't want to talk about it. What would you say about people on the right that are criticizing her for not wanting to get into a political conversation? Do you think that's right or wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
I think if she doesn't want to talk about it, that's her opinion. She's got her image
I
to
agree.
protect. She doesn't want to affect them, but she don't want to offend people that might be her
agree.
fans.
I agree. I completely agree with you. So we agree fundamentally. All right. So you don't like LeBron. Here would be my response to you, and you can tell me whether you agree or disagree. Don't listen to LeBron. If you see a clip or you see something about LeBron talking about politics, which, by the way, he doesn't really get into that a lot at all, just don't listen to him. Is that fair?
I get that, but it's kind of hard not to when you're, watching sports
not hard
Center
for
and
me.
he's on there talking about it.
When was the last time LeBron talked about politics on Sports Center? When was the last time?
I can't tell the exact date.
No, because it's been years, right? It's been years. You're making it like LeBron talks about politics on Sports Center every day. So I'm asking you again. You called in to complain about LeBron James because you don't want to hear his political beliefs. My question to you is, since it upsets you, when was the last time LeBron talked about politics?
It was sometime last year.
No, it wasn't. What did he say last year? What did he say?
Well, I didn't write it down.
You don't know. You didn't write it down. So you called into the show and you're very upset about LeBron James talking about politics. You're making the case that he might have said something a year ago. Sir, do you kind of get where I'm going at here? You're making the case that you don't want to hear LeBron talk about politics, yet you don't even know the last time he talked about politics. I got some news for you,
When was
sir.
the last time Caitlin Clark and all them talked about it, but you guys want them to speak up about it?
When did I say I wanted Caitlin Clark to speak about politics, sir?
Then why is everyone asking about her transgender and stuff?
Sir, I'm asking you a question. You just made a claim. Now I'm following up on it. When did I ever say that I wanted Caitlin Clark to talk about politics?
I wasn't talking about you specifically.
Oh, I see. Because you said you. So when somebody says you, I assume they're talking about me. Sir, I've said I don't need any athlete to talk about politics. I've never said that they should. I've never said that I want them to. The only thing that I ever brought up, I believe, in a very long time was Tiger Woods. When Tiger Woods was playing at Augusta National, and it wasn't that long ago that they didn't allow black people to play on their golf courses. I thought Tiger probably should have spoken up a little bit more about that. But in the last 10 years, I don't think I've ever said that at all, not one bit. The reason why we're talking about Caitlin Clark is not because Caitlin Clark wanted to talk about it. It's because a member of the media asked her and she didn't respond to it, and people on the right are angry at her. Do you understand the hypocrisy? The reason why I'm talking about Sophie Cunningham is because she made a statement about how much she cares about children, and she brings up transgenders, but she doesn't talk about gun control. She doesn't talk about the big and beautiful bill. She doesn't talk about the Epstein file. So I think she's full of crap. Does that not make sense, sir?
She's talking about transgender people in sports.
Yeah.
She plays
By the way,
sports,
I just want
to talk about that.
And you were fact checked, sir. So I just want to fact check you, since you're so upset about LeBron James talking about politics. The last time LeBron James made any public comments about politics was November 1st of 2024. So it's been several years. So this isn't something that he does every day. It's not something that you see on SportsCenter. You're lying.
I was off by a year.
No, you're lying.
But that's pretty
right.
close.
So that gets you very upset that 2 years ago, LeBron James made a statement about politics. In 2 years.
I don't sound very upset. I'm just saying that's why no one wants to hear it.
No, it's why you don't want to hear it. So if a black athlete talks about black issues, let me ask you a question, sir. What do you think about Kid Rock? Should he be talking about politics? He's a musician. Should Kid Rock be talking about politics? Yes or no?
He's friends with Trump. He probably knows a lot more.
I didn't ask you whether he's friends with Trump, and he doesn't know a lot more. He's an imbecile. My question, sir, still stands. So if you're friends with the president, it's okay to talk about politics. Let me ask you again. Is it okay for a musician like Kid Rock to always talk about politics? Yes or no?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, so when it comes to LeBron James, you would never say it's okay for LeBron sometimes to talk about politics, but you'll give Kid Rock a pass, and it's okay for a musician to talk about politics, right? What about an actor like Dean Cain or James Woods? Is it okay for them? They're actors. Are they allowed to talk about politics? Because they don't talk about politics sometimes. They talk about politics every day. So why is it not okay for LeBron James to talk about politics, the face of the NBA, but why is it okay for actors like James Woods and Dean Cain to talk about it?
Do you see LeBron James getting involved?
No, my question wasn't. My question was not that, sir. I'd like you to please directly answer my question. People like Kid Rock and people like Ted Nugent, they're musicians. They talk about politics every day. My question is, why is it okay for them sometimes to talk about politics, but not okay for LeBron? Maybe, sir, you just don't like what they're saying. Maybe, sir, it's your political ideology. Maybe it's what they look like. I don't know. But until you give me a reasonable explanation, why is it okay for Ted Nugent and Kid Rock, who are professional musicians, who are not politicians, why is it okay for them every day to talk about politics, but not LeBron James? I'm still waiting for an answer, sir.
Kid Rock is involved in politics.
How is he involved?
Around it. He's
involved. How is he? Okay, so why is it okay? Let's change the framing for somebody like you, sir. Why is it okay for Kid Rock, who's a professional musician, to be, quote, involved in politics, but not okay for LeBron James to be involved in politics? Why is that, sir?
Do you believe LeBron James is passionate about politics?
LeBron James campaigned for Kamala Harris. LeBron James has opened up schools for minorities and helping the poor. He's very involved in political issues. He's raised a lot of money for charity. So now we're going to ask that question again. Why is it okay for Kid Rock and the Ted Nugents of the world and Aaron Lewis and Dean Cain and James Woods? Why is it okay for them to talk about politics every day and, quote, be involved in politics, but not okay for LeBron James? Please answer my question, sir, directly.
Because having charity doesn't make you involved in politics. That means you care about your community.
So how is Kid Rock involved in politics? Is he a policymaker? Please explain. How is he involved in politics? Please be specific. Hello, sir.
He's always involved.
How is he involved?
Trump on the campaign.
Okay.
Trump
LeBron James was campaigning for Kamala Harris, so you lost me there, sir. So please give me another example. How is Kid Rock involved in politics? I'm still asking, and don't say he campaigned with Donald Trump, because the campaign is over, sir. How is Kid Rock and Ted? And by the way, Ted Nugent did not. Last I checked, Ted Nugent and Aaron Lewis and James Woods did not campaign with Donald Trump. So please give me examples of how they're involved and LeBron is not. I'm still waiting for an answer, sir. Go ahead.
So LeBron went out and campaigned for Kamala. Have you heard him say one word?
Yes. He gave his full support for Kamala Harris, and he did go on some campaign stops with her.
You just told me he hasn't said anything political since 2024.
Yes, that is true. He campaigned for Kamala Harris. And do you know when the elections were, sir? Sir, when were the elections? Sir, when were the elections, sir?
Yeah, 2024. But Kid Rock has been involved since then.
LeBron
exactly. James has not said one word.
Okay, so tell me how Kid Rock and Ted Nugent are involved in politics. Tell me. I'm still waiting for an answer. All you said was Kid Rock has campaigned with Donald Trump. Please give me an example how they're really involved. Tell me. How's James Woods involved?
The campaign. He has been involved ever since the campaign.
Okay, being involved is okay. So how is he involved? Give me a specific example. You keep saying he's involved. I'm asking you for a specific example. How is Kid Rock involved?
He's helping Trump push all Trump's policies.
How is he? Okay, so that's a very generic. How is he doing that? How is he helping Trump push his policies?
He's out there talking to everybody.
LeBron James did that under the
TV.
Biden administration. LeBron James did that. He talked about the black community. He talked about minorities. He talked about Colin Kaepernick. He talked about kneeling. He talked about police brutality. LeBron James did the exact same thing. So by your own standards,
while the campaign was going,
not true, sir. You could look this up if you don't believe me. You're very ignorant to facts,
told me he hasn't done
sir.
it since 2024.
Right, and I'm talking about the Biden administration, dumbass. Why don't you pay attention to what I'm saying? During Joe Biden's presidency, LeBron James talked about many issues facing the black community. He talked about gun control. He talked about poor neighborhoods. In fact, he's the one who helped open up a school for minorities in Cleveland. He did a lot of things involved with politics. So now I'm still waiting for, if you can give me an example of how Kid Rock and Ted Nugent and James Woods and all these people are, quote unquote, involved in politics far more than LeBron James. I'm still waiting for an example, sir. Still waiting.
For minorities is
okay,
political.
sir.
I call that caring about your community.
Okay, so sir, I just talked to you about policies. You could make the same example with Kid Rock. He cares about his community. So your argument is you're okay with Kid Rock and Ted Nugent and James Woods and Dean Cain and all these talking about politics every day, but you're not okay with LeBron James doing it. I'm beginning to think maybe it might have to do with the color of his skin. What would be the other reason? Or maybe you just don't like what he's saying. Ha, 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 ha. You're okay with Kid Rock and musicians and actors that are on the right that are involved in politics because, they're involved. LeBron James has been very involved. He's, political issues, poor people within the community. By the way, that's a political issue. Poor people that are struggling to get an education. Last I checked, education is a part of policy. Policy is a part of politics, you dumbass. You realize how stupid you sound, sir? Do you realize how dumb you sound? I think the reason why you don't want LeBron James talking about politics is two reasons. Number one, you don't agree with what he said. And number two, because he's black, because you're a Klan member. That's what I think, sir. That's what I think, sir. I think you're a Klan member. So why don't you have a nice day? What did you think about that? Why don't you have a nice day, bud? God, what a dummy. Some of the people who call into the show are so stupid. They're so stupid. It's unbelievable. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next. Hello, Patrick.
Yo, Brian, man, I wanted to get your thoughts on that coach that I guess Sophie was talking to and that shirt she was wearing, Trans Kids Belong.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what shirt she was wearing. I know you do because that's all you care about. You don't want to talk about the Iran war. You don't want to talk about the economy, but you call into a show because you care what a WNBA basketball coach's shirt wears because you're an imbecile, Patrick. Guess what, Patrick? Patrick, I don't care what a WNBA. Patrick, I'm answering your question. Patrick, shut up. I'm answering your question. I don't care what a WNBA basketball coach's shirt wears. You know what I care more about? I care more about the economy. I care more about healthcare. I care more about people that are struggling, living to paycheck, even idiots like you, Patrick. So you can go on social media today with your 8 followers.
Hey, Brian,
you can go on social media with your 8 followers, MAGA Patrick, and you can complain about some WNBA basketball coach because you're so upset about what shirt she wears. Guess what? I'm upset a little bit more at the fact that we're in an ill-advised war in Iran, that the economy is struggling, that people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, that some people have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, that people are losing their healthcare coverage. But Patrick calls into the show because he's really upset about what some WNBA basketball coach's shirt wears. By the way, the shirt was a pro-transgender shirt, you imbecile, you idiot. Yeah, if somebody wore a shirt that said, I hate Jews or I hate black people, yeah, that would bother me. A pro-transgender shirt doesn't bother me at all. It bothers you because you're a transphobic idiot who happens to be a MAGA supporter, Patrick. So go to hell. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. Go to hell. And hopefully you'll be sitting next to Mitch McConnell or, I don't know, some of your other right-wing heroes out there. Go to hell. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. By the way, for people on social media that say, don't insult your guest, a caller isn't a guest. A caller isn't a guest. And if you're going to call into this show and you want to say, can you believe about what that WNBA coach, that shirt that coach wore, that was a pro-transgender shirt, then I'm going to insult you because you're an idiot. That's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Leonard Cardinal is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. Check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations and help support what we do here. And without those MAGA supporters calling into the show, wouldn't make it as fun as it is, right? So you got to love them, ladies and gentlemen. You got to show some love for the ignorant. You have to. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live. I have some big announcements to make tomorrow on the program. We also have some very interesting guests that are going to be joining us on the program throughout the remainder of the week. And of course, Leonard Cardinale is one of them who's going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds